Hello, and welcome to this Intuitive how-to video. I'm James Bray, a Senior Product Specialist here at Intuitive, and today I'm going to be going over filtered user logins. Filtered user logins are really powerful, and they're a secure way of limiting access to the dashboards based on a particular attribute. And when I talk about attributes, they're things like the user's department, the group, or the account name that they're charging their printing to. Today I'm going to be going over papercut data, but the same process can be repeated for any of our other solutions.
Before we get started, I want to go over the theory of how this is all put together. User logins can have one or more security types assigned to them. You can have either a user security filter, which can be either the username, email address, or the user security identifier, a group security filter, which can be either a group name or a group security identifier. You'll usually hear us mention one or more of these types when we discuss user security. Typically, we tend to either use a user security identifier, the group security identifiers, or a combination of them when we want to filter on two separate attributes. It's one thing to pick the security on the user, but we also need to understand how that security knows how to filter the data correctly on screen. To do so, let's open up one of our papercut datasets. I'll open up the first one for departmental statistics. This is one of the many datasets we have for our papercut solution. It's a collation of department-centric data which populate many of our dashboards. If we click the filter icon at the top, we can see that our dataset has some security set up on it already. It's listed that the user security identifier equals the department. So if we wanted to create a security filter and have it filter against any dashboards that use this dataset, we'll need to enable the user security identifier on the user's account and make sure that our entered values are valid department names. In our case, this could be either, say, sales, facilities, marketing, and so on. One important area to note is that you want to have as much parity between the security in each of the datasets. Our papercut solution will have the security set on the department in most of the datasets. So if you're designing your own security solution, you may want to follow this practice as best as you can. Otherwise, if a dataset has no security set, any components that use that particular dataset will not be filtered by security settings when you view that dashboard. So let's put this into practice. We've learned that the dataset is filtered on the department for the user security identifier, so we now need to create a user which follows those principles. Let's head to the main menu, admin, and then users. So I'm going to fill out my user details later, but let's skip straight to the security. We need to check the box for user security identifier. Secondly, to set a value for this identifier, we need to head to the bottom of the screen where we can see this plus icon. Clicking that, we can now enter our security identifier on the department. We can write anything in here. So if you know your department name, you can just put it in here. However, let's double check what departments we have available to us to filter against. If we click this grid-shaped icon, we can drill into one of our datasets. I'll select the same dataset as before, the first departmental statistics dataset. If we highlight department, on the left we have our available departments to filter against on the right. Let's select R&D, but you can see the other available departments. Then click Save. However, before we apply and save our changes, next to the text box you may have noticed a drop-down list with equals. This list contains a few logical operators for how the security is going to work. If we select this list, we have available to us equals, begins with, ends with, and contains. Each of these options has their own use case. For today we're going to be using equals as we want to match against the exact name of the department and have no deviation from it. However, let's go through a couple of examples where you actually might want to use them. For begins with, this is going to match the security text against the start of the attribute's name. For example, I may have several sales teams internally, one for sales EMEA, sales APAC, and so on. I could select begins with and enter sales, and that should act as a catch-all for all those sales teams. For ends with, this is the converse to begins with, where it's any attribute with your security at the end of the text field. Using the same example as before, we could have EMEA sales and APAC sales. In this case, sales is still valid, as it's going to catch any department that ends with the word sales. Lastly, for contains, this is going to search the entire attribute for the contents of your text. Let's say we want to filter against an address, but search for any entries containing Yorkshire in their name. By entering Yorkshire in the field and selecting Contains, it's going to search your chosen dataset attribute for anything containing that phrase. For today, however, we'll stick with equals and R&D. We need to click the tick icon next to this field. I'll fill out the rest of my user details, including access to the Papercut dashboards, and then save our user. Then sign into Intuitive with our new account. Opening the Executive Summary page, we can now see our filter in action. I'm now only able to see user information relating to R&D and no other department.
Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more of Intuitive's how-to videos. For more information about our solutions, please visit weareintuitive.com. And for any technical inquiries, please contact support@weareintuitive.com.